listening to The Edge, everything bass fishing, coming to you worldwide from Megaware KeelGuard Studios.
Aaron, if you hear me pouting, that's because I'm still licking my wounds from the Red River BASS Open. Man, another mediocre finish. Dude, I got to break out of this thing. But the good thing is I'm here for another episode of BassEdge Radio, where we're going to break down for the listeners education about how to catch better bass. I need more education, Aaron.
Education is a wonderful thing, and of course, all of the education, all 385 episodes to this point, has been brought to us by our great friends at Megaware KeelGuard. Megaware, the studio is named after them, obviously, but Megaware has all things needed for your personal watercraft, your bass boat, the battery guard, the flex step, the do-it-yourself keel protector, the skeg guard. The list goes on, and certainly check all those things out at keelguard.com. Kurt, a lot of things, a lot of information, I should say, is being downloaded and put out on the airwaves.
As is typical for the last part of September here, October 1, schedules coming out all over the place, bro. I mean, from head to toe, tournaments all across the country. Pick what you like, fish what you love, and go out there, have fun. Man, you got to check out the MLF BBT schedule out. The invitationals now. You've got the BFLs, full range of Toyotas. You got the Bass Open schedule, Elite Series schedule. Man, it is a full bore for 2023. Yet we still have some events to knock out here in 2022. Right.
Yes.
So,
yes, we do.
What's your thought about some of the schedule things? I know you saw one or two that were like, whoa.
Yeah, I had one that, kind of on the opens with coming through with Table Rock. The Toyotas, series has a championship, I believe, that's going to be on Table Rock Lake. But
yeah, first week in November.
We talk, Kurt, a lot about like the St. Lawrence and kind of up in that area, or Champlain, of how much pressure those lakes get, right? When you have multiple just tournament after tournament that comes through. Well, that's actually coming to kind of my neck of the woods in Missouri, to where Lake of the Ozarks, which we just finished, earlier in September. I too did not catch them, just much like you were talking about, but that doesn't hurt our voice from being able to talk about this. But listen to this. Next year, 2023 in September, you're going to have, and not necessarily in this order, but you're going to have a BASS Open, a Toyota Series, and a BFL Super Tournament in 3 consecutive weekends. Those fish are going to be dodging. People's going to need new, covering on their docks, because there's so many docks in there. It's going to be nuts.
That's awesome, man. It's crazy how these schedules come together these days, and how just, take like you mentioned, when's the last time a Bass Open's been in Lake of the Ozarks? Now, they've had Toyota events on a fairly regular basis there. Obviously, BFLs happen there all the time, but to really throw that back-to-back in there, man, it's fun to see these come together, and then, look at them and decide how we as anglers want to capitalize on how to have the most fun. So it's going to be fun to maybe break some of these fisheries down and look at how some techniques are going to come and be highlighted in 2023. Maybe we'll be able to hit that up later on in some future episodes this winter, Aaron, as fishing decreases, but chatting about it increases, right? So it should be a lot of fun.
Agreed. And speaking of a lot of fun, we've got a couple of fun interviews coming up, Kurt, both longtime friends of the project.
Yeah, we're interestingly enough, we're gonna talk some more about Lake of the Ozarks here coming up, and then obviously we're gonna talk a little bit about the Bass Opens, man. The Red River just finished up, where I struggled a little bit, but we've got the Red River Open champion with us on this episode, and the
Kurt, I kind of think that this is an episode for you and I to get it thrown back in our face. That we both didn't do well at the last tournaments that we fished.
You're probably right. Maybe we'll figure out why a little
right.
bit right here. So y'all stay tuned. We will ask all the tough questions and bring to light how Aaron and I will do better in the future. Y'all stay tuned with more BassEdge Radio.
Nitro Performance Bass Boats. Get pro-level performance with the Nitro Z18, the official boat of Major League Fishing. The Z18
with its nimble handling and versatility, sports many of the features in the larger boats in the line, like a Guardian Live Well, a heavily insulated cooler, dual 8-foot rod storage, and our smooth and fast NVT hull. Every Nitro boat is laid out to do one thing very well: catch fish. Enormous front decks, up to 45 square feet on the Z21, allow maximum mobility when battling unruly bass, and feature low-profile gunnels for ease of skipping, pitching, flipping, or landing fish. Nitro Performance Bass Boats, pure fishing machines.
Aaron, awesome to see a Megaware angler get the W in a BFL Super Tournament this past month on Lake of the Ozarks. I know a longtime friend of yours. We're going to break down the win and how it all came together. Welcome back to BassEdge, Matt Ells. Matt, awesome to see your victory. Thanks for taking the time to tell us about your unique technique that took you to the championship circle.
Man, thanks, guys, for having me here. I'm excited to be here and excited to talk about it.
Well, Matt, certainly we've known each other for a long period of time. I don't know who you pissed off to get cursed with that, but I do have to say I don't remember you letting me in on the swim jigging with a football jig. Amongst our group that all of us travel together, the gang, Felton and Bunk and Moon and Caldwell and those guys. But anyway, tell us how this came together for you on Lake of the Ozarks BFL Super Tournament.
Man, I would love to sit here and take all the credit for it. I have a good friend, Mike Marfel, who'd had some success doing this many years ago, and he kind of let me in on what he did back then. And since then, I've just really been tinkering with it and trying to perfect it my own way. You guys know how it is. You can't go out and fish somebody else's technique. So I kind of knew what he did, and I've just worked on it and really created my own way of doing it.
Well, Matt, reading the breakdown that MLF provided, which they did a great job, man. You gave him a great interview after your win. You find this pattern developing at the end of the first tournament day. You weren't in the lead after the first day, but you caught some key fish toward the end and kind of developed this or saw this process happening. How did you then establish this to carry you to a potential victory on day 2 of the event?
Guys, I tried this in practice multiple days with no success at all. And then Friday, in the last hour of practice, I caught 2 on it, and they weren't big fish, but just gave me enough confidence that maybe I could get bit on it. Well, Saturday, tournament rolls around. I just went back to doing what I'd been doing, just flipping shallow docks, just with a standard half-ounce jig. We're getting close to the end of the day, and I got to thinking about last year in the Super Tournament. I lost 3 good ones swimming a football jig, and I had nothing else to lose. I only had 2 in the box, so I said, you know what? Let's just go do it. So I ran to a set of docks where I'd done it in the past, and I picked up these were a little bit deeper docks, so I picked up that 3/4. I kept the boat out of ways, and I'd roll cast as far up in the stalls as I could. And in 20 minutes, I caught 4 good keepers, culled out a 12-inch Kentucky I had in the box, and I was able to come in with almost 17 pounds, at least give me an opportunity to fish the next day.
Yeah, I mean, Matt, talking about fishing on the second day, because when I saw you in the parking lot, while I was wiping off my boat or something, I asked how you did, and you're like, you're not going to believe this, but I caught what was it, like 3 or 4 fish in the last 20 minutes. Mike, I'm curious on, because a football jig isn't real easy to, and I know you mentioned roll cast, but trying to pitch a football jig way up in there is pretty difficult. What are some of the advantages that you found with swimming that style of head, fairly non-traditional football head design, and then utilizing kind of the different weights depending on the depth under or around the docks?
Yeah, if you've got the right rod, you can pitch or roll cast that half-ounce really easily. The 3/4 is a little bit tougher, but that half it skips well. And I think, to me, the key is, and I know anybody out there that's throwing a football jig and say you make a bad cast or you miss your brush pile with it, when you're reeling it in real fast, you almost see like a bubble on the head of that jig. In my mind, I think that's what's a little bit different. I think it displaces so much water when you're reeling it in. When you're swimming that back, it's displacing a lot more water than any standard jig, especially something with, a real flathead or something that we typically throw underneath these docks to get them back in there. that, this is something they're not seeing. So, I just give it one good hop and reel it in pretty quick. And they seem to really, when they eat it, they really eat it. There's no doubt you had a bite.
Yeah. And you mentioned 3/4 ounce and 1/2 ounce, definitely larger weights than we're typically hearing about when you swim a jig, right?
Yeah, and I think that's a lot of the key to it. Most people, and me in the past, I'd always thrown smaller ones. But when I want to fish this fast, I want to cover a lot of water. And if I'm throwing, just like say a 3/8 or something smaller, I've got to swim that pretty slow to keep it in that. I try to keep it about anywhere from 6 inches to 3 feet below the floats at the very most. And I want to cover as much water as possible because to me, the time is of the essence, and the more water I can cover when I'm doing that, the better. So I'm able to get that in there and get it back to me really quick. And a lot of times when I bring it to the edge, I'll just kill it for a brief second. And I think that quick fall, especially with that 3/4, gets it bit a lot.
Very cool. Very cool. Matt, it's often that the developing pattern or technique for an angler that happens during an event will kind of draw them to the winner's circle. What's your experience with that? Obviously, this happened in the super tournament. And how can you attempt to replicate it in the future for continued success?
I think one of the biggest issues that we have as bass fishermen is getting stuck in the past. We'll catch them in practice for 3 or 4 days doing one thing, and it's not working in the tournament, and we just try to convince them that they're going to eat that way. We've got to listen to the fish, for lack of better terms. And I think if we just do a better job of, the fish typically don't just leave an entire area. So we got to really think about, okay, they're here. Why aren't they eating what I'm doing? And I think that's the key is I think if we do that a lot more, it'll all make us all better anglers. That's for sure.
Well, that's good stuff. And certainly, Matt, you and I go way back. I mean, 30 years. We were fishing when nobody else. I think that's actually how we met at some little tournament in Pomme de Terre. We were the two younger guys, and you're certainly younger than me. But, seeing your maturation, your growth in the sport, there were some legends, right? I think 3 Hibdons were in the top 10 with you. Casey Scanlon, right? So it's not like this is some just little derby on a Wednesday night deal. So very, very proud of you. Congratulations. Any closing thoughts before we shut it down?
Guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on and learning on the water throughout the tournament is just one of the biggest keys that you can have fishing these tournaments. And I am, Aaron, you've known me forever. I'll get out there and I'll get in a slump and I'll get down. And I'll tell you, my co-angler the first day, he was amazing. All day. I mean, I was struggling. He could tell I was getting spun out. And, he kept all day. He's like, man, you got 3 hours. You got 2 hours. How many times at the very end of the day, he's like, I guarantee you've caught 5 fish in an hour before. He just had that attitude. And the poor guy, I don't know that he caught a fish all day, maybe 1 or 2 shorts. But I told him at the end of the day, his attitude is really what kept me going. And it's really kind of given me some self-reflection of how I need to be.
Great, man. Like you had a life coach in the boat, right?
It was, and it was so cool. I'd never met the guy before in my life, and he was just phenomenal.
That's awesome, man. Positivity, so important. Matt, thank you so much for sharing your secrets to victory in that Lake of the Ozark, a BFL super tournament, man. Awesome to see you on the winner's circle and obviously representing BassEdge and Megaware to boot. Love to see it, man. Thanks so much. Y'all stay tuned. We've got this episode's feature angler spotlight coming up right after this message.
This is BASS Elite Angler Kyle Wilcher.
This is Bass Elite Series Angler Bernie Schultz.
This is BASS Bassmaster Elite Angler Stetson Blaylock.
This is MLF BPT Angler John Murray, and you are listening to BassEdge Radio.
Know the importance of protecting your investments, so why use anything else other than the original and toughest DIY keel protector for your boat, Megaware KeelGuard. Grinding sand, abrasive rocks, and concrete ramps are no match for our exclusive contoured edge and patented technology. Megaware KeelGuard keel protectors are made tough and made to stick. Their do-it-yourself installation takes less than an hour, providing the longest-lasting, most dependable keel protection for your boat, guaranteed for life. Developed specifically by boat builders offering the best keel protection in the industry. Also from Megaware KeelGuard, Skeg Guard, Flex Step Pro, and Pontoon Guard. So give your boat the performance edge. Put on the protection the pros pick. Megaware KeelGuard.
Talking tin today in the featured angler spotlight. We've been watching them roll over the competition in this year's BASS Open events, stack himself among the best of the best on the MLF Bass Pro Tour as well in 22. We've got 2023 Bassmaster Classic qualifier and BASS Elite Series qualifier, recent Red River Bass Open champion Keith Poche on the mic. Excellent to have you back on the program, Keith.
What's up, Kurt? Thanks for having me. Yes, sir. It's been an awesome week, and man, happy to get it done on the Red River.
Yeah, Keith, you certainly got it done on the Red River. I got to ask, has the party stopped yet, or are you still letting the magnitude of the last several weeks sink in? An Open Championship, Bassmaster Classic qualification, a BASS Elite Series qualification just 3 weeks ago on wrapping up the Northern Opens in the top 3 Angler of the Year standings. Finishing that series up on the Chesapeake Bay. Lots going on in the world of professional bass angling, Keith Poche's world, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, hey, man, we're enjoying every bit of it. Hey, I've been making my way. I'm down at Gator Tracks right now. I'm celebrating with them. I celebrated with my family the other day, past couple of days. Now, we're going to continue the celebration to Hartwell, and I'm going to try to win the next 3. I'm not going to let up off the gas. I'm going to try to get it done and fish my butt off and win this Opens AOY and finish the season strong and, finish it out.
Man, that's cool, Keith. It's been great to watch this progression. You know, we've been friends for a long time. Long time back from the Elite Series when we fished there together through the MLF Select events. Both of us started fishing that at the same time, and then of course you continued your career with MLF and now potentially going back to the BASS side, possibly fishing the Elite Series, depending on your decisions for 2023. But man, I have seen this style of fishing that you're employing develop and maybe kind of redevelop from your youth, but it's developed over the last 5 or 6 years, maybe even 5 to 7 years. It seems you really connected with this style of fishing through the MLF Select events, man. You began exploiting backwater areas, realizing the success that you could have with them and taking it to this tour level platform. Tell us about the history and then how you progressed to where you are today in this shallow water, backwater success that you're having.
Yeah, man, you're exactly right. And, it kind of stemmed from early on. I used to fish out of a big boat exclusively when I fished the Elite Series. And a lot of times I would try to do that. But, I just didn't have the boat to be able to get back in there. I'm like, man, that looks good back there. But, I get stuck or whatever. And it just never really materialized. And we started fishing the slicks, and we had a little smaller boat. They put us in, and it was just, fishing on the fly. And, I'd go back in the creeks, and I'd go way back and hit a little ditch and slip up in the actual creek part. And I started having some success and fishing, confident, fishing what I like to fish, what I visually see when we get there. It's just on the fly. And I loved that so much. It was so exciting. And I had a lot of success from that, and having a little boat. I ended up getting a little boat my uncle gave me. It was not a very reliable boat, but it was getting the job done. I fished a couple of opens out of it, and there was no mosquitoes around. It smoked like everybody appreciated me. On a hot summer day, it kept the mosquitoes away. But yeah, I started fishing out of that little aluminum boat and started having some success with it. And I just started finding myself. I started exploring with that. And what it did, it allowed me to reach areas that I couldn't previously reach with a bigger boat. And I grew from there, and things started happening. I redesigned this boat, got a new motor for it, and continued to fish out of fish events. And it was always a challenge because I was kind of learning. I didn't know everything about what I could do, if you know what I'm saying. Like I didn't know where I could go or where I couldn't go. So over the years, I've learned how to use tools and adapt and figure out how to get in these places, within the rules without breaking any rules. So I just had to learn that over years. And then I started my YouTube series, Off the Grid.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, man, I'm doing all this crazy stuff. I said, I need to show people because I'm having so much fun. And I was with a buddy one day and we went out and we did some crazy stuff. He said, man, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, what do you mean? I said, I didn't think it was no big deal. He said, man, that's crazy. He said, people would love to watch it. And just kind of started from there. And that's when I started filming them and putting them out there, and people loved watching them. And so, but over the years, I've learned what my Gator Tracks boat will do and not do. I've kind of pushed the limits. I've kind of, understood, it's just like understanding a big boat, how fast, how to drive it, whatever. I mean, you get comfortable, you get used to where you can go, how fast you can go, and all that stuff. I've understood the realm of what I do. I'm getting better at it, if you know what I mean. So, and yeah, that's just kind of stemmed for the last few years. And I got it done a couple of years ago on a Toyota, running way up the Flint River on the Lake Seminole. And man, I've had 2 wins, and they both have been out of these little boats. 2 major wins. So it's coming together, and I finally got it done here on the Red River on the Open. So yeah, man, it's special. It's sweet because I've worked so hard. I worked my butt off. People don't realize how hard it is to do this. Like it's much easier to have a big boat and get have the live scope and there's one right there. Let me pitch over there and catch him. That's so much easier. But I choose to go the different road. I like getting away from people as well. That's another reason why I like doing it. I'm not in the crowd. I'm not having to fish behind somebody or worry about getting to my spot before somebody else does. I choose to do that. Guys choose to go their way. I choose to go my way. Yeah. So it's just developed over the years, and I've learned a lot, and it's a lot of fun, man. I have fun with it, and that's what it's all about. I enjoy what I do.
That's good stuff.
It's not me going. It's not me going out there saying, "Oh man, I gotta go catch him on a crank." I hate throwing a crankbait or this and that. I enjoy what I do. I'm fishing shallow. It's just a lot of fun.
Yeah, there's a lot to unpack there, Keith, and I want to get to it because the difference is, I think, and please correct me if I'm wrong here, but it's almost it's your DNA. And we talk a lot about angler personalities and finding what works for making sure that you are kind of, you said finding yourself. I would challenge, hey, it's more or less a rediscovery. It's not really a paradigm shift for you. That's just who you are. And, getting away from thinking that, hey, I've got to have these big boats and we are built on our economy is built on consumption, right? And selling and buying more. Whereas it's almost kind of like you went that road, but then you retreated back to what got you to where you are and kind of getting back to those roots, if you will. Can you walk us through the advantages and disadvantages maybe of now the style of fishing and getting back to your original roots and kind of rediscovering yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, with anything you do, I mean, it's not always going to work out. There's pros and cons on everything. And with doing what I do, some of the pros are, as far as being able to get back in places where most guys can't. Fishing for fish that haven't been messed with. And, it's a deal where that's really, it's not a whole lot of pros. That's it, because there's not a lot of places like that. Yeah, I mean, you can find a few here and there, but there's more cons than pros, because I'm getting away from somebody, which is good, and I'm finding fish that haven't been messed with. But there's the cons outweigh the pros. The cons are I could hit something, break down, I can get stuck and not get out. The water can drop and I can't get in. There's a limited amount of fish in these places. So, you have to manage your fish perfect. You can't overdo. You can't go in and just whack everything. And cull up by ounces. No, you got to stop, because there's these areas are small and you can't just whack on them all day. Yeah, I'm running slower because it's a smaller boat. I don't have the fuel capacity or the speed like these bigger boats. Storage, weight is very crucial to these boats. They're very weight sensitive. So there's a lot of cons and pros, and so the people don't realize that how hard it is that you got to work. I mean, physically, you have to, do the work. I mean, it's push pole in or this or that, or, go through trees, and you got all limbs all on my boat all the time. I mean, it's just hard. So but every so often you're going to find those glory holes. And man, when it's right and when it works out, it makes it so much sweeter. So, but people just don't realize that there's a lot more cons than pros, and there's a lot more disadvantages than advantages, I should say.
Right. It's interesting. I think about kind of some of this aluminum boat trending, right? You could say John Cox, kind of started into the aluminum world a little bit. Lowen realized he was kind of that creek back end shallow type angler. Christie's now kind of running that aluminum stuff, and there's several others, but you have taken this, what I feel like is to Keith's style, right? I mean, one step further into this aluminum rig, small boat, backwater style of fishing. How far can a guy push this style of fishing? And an interesting thing that, I start to think about is, what if there was like 4 or 5 other anglers that tried to move this direction? Would all of a sudden, just like the brush pile gets crowded and you get 3 or 4 anglers firing at a brush pile, does the backwater start to get a little bit crowded? So what's your take on how far you can push this awesome strategy? And then, how can the future be affected from your success, essentially? Because people are going to want to emulate Keith Poche. He's winning, he's doing well, and he's got a program that he's having success with.
Yeah, let me just start with what you were talking about with some of the other guys, John Cox and Bill Lohr and Christie, and and of course myself now, running a big gator tracks, a big aluminum boat. And so, they have the aluminum boats. I think John Cox is probably one of the few exceptions, big aluminum boats that can still get real shallow. And it's a wide boat though. So, these boats are big. But they're pretty similar to a fiberglass. And so, it's just they're not, their advantages is really not that much greater on a big aluminum boat, if you will, you know what I'm saying? Because they're still limited on access, access in places because of the size. But my deal is downsizing small and taking it to a new level, like you're saying, and doing things that other, no matter what other boat you got, whether it's aluminum or fiberglass, but it's a big one, they can't do what I'm doing because of the size and the tools I use and I utilize. But I hope guys continue this. I encourage people to do it because it is a style. It's a angle that I've taken. I've chosen to follow. I don't know if I'm answering your question. I couldn't really remember exactly what direction you want me to go with it.
Yeah, just how I think you're perfect. You've taken it to this next level because you're more downsized. You're different than, those guys took it to a level of aluminum rigging, and now Keith Poche's taking it to, and particularly in this open series in 2022, to the next level of that downsizing and aluminum rigging. And some kid somewhere is saying, man, I can afford, or my parents can afford a $20,000 or $30,000 boat. I don't need a $70,000, $80,000, $100,000 bass boat. So does this matriculate into getting crowded?
Well, and like I was explaining earlier, I had to learn, and it's like no different than anything else, learn techniques, how to fish a crankbait, how to fish a jig, skip a jig. So, a guy can figure this out. A guy can take the time and understand and watch my videos or go experience them themselves. Understand what your boat can and can't do. It's really fairly easy, honestly. As long as you have the right stuff. It's physically, it's a little work, a little time consuming, but it's actually not that hard to do this. Like and to your point, there's already guys doing this. At this last Open, there was there was a couple small aluminum boats.
Right.
You know, they call them South Louisiana, they call them jump boats. You know, they got 200s on them. They're longer, but they're narrow. I mean, they could have got in that hole if they knew how to run. Like the way I was doing, I was getting on the side of them rocks, and I had a little stretch and it was span. I just jump up on pad. I just run in there and turn that corner, and you there. I mean, I don't know how shallow our boat floats, but I mean, you seen what I did. I mean, I just run up in there and push forward the rest of the way, and that was it. They probably could have did the same thing. But they didn't take the time to research and do the time to put the work in to understand where they could and can't go, understand what their boat will do. So, I mean, they have the same opportunities I do. I mean, guys are already doing it to a certain extent, but they're just not going to the extreme I'm going because they just haven't crossed that bridge. They haven't understood what their boat will and won't do. Maybe I'm trying to.
That's you've been refining this as we talked about at the beginning of the interview. 5, 6, 7 years. Not to mention what your roots came from, especially in that Louisiana area. So dude. I mean, you're places where other people are trying to get at this point, and so it's neat to see.
Yeah.
Keith, we're gonna take a quick break, man. Talking small boat bass fishing, keeping things simple. Here on Bass Edge Radio. We're going to power pole down for a quick break and return right after these messages.
Patented in 2000, perfected over years of testing and real-world punishment, the Power Pole is the ultimate shallow water boat positioning tool. Swift. Power Pole deploys in seconds from anywhere in your boat. Virtually silent. Power Pole won't spook wary fish. Secure in strong current or gusting winds in up to 8 feet of water. Engineered to take it with a lifetime unconditional replacement guarantee on the spike. Power Pole. Swift. Silent. Secure. Visit powerpole.com to find a dealer near you.
Bass Edge is presented in part by Mercury Marine, returning with professional angler Keith Poche in this episode's featured angler spotlight. Mercury Marine, go boldly.
Keith, we broke it down heavily in that first half of the interview of where this development of fishing style came from. Let's dive into some patterns and things that you're able to catch fish with once you're utilizing this new style of fishing that you're really exploiting out there. Let's start with the seasonal behavior patterns. How does that affect the advantages that you have in this platform that you've developed, starting with the spring, and kind of let's discuss them all from there. A lot of people would think, well, summertime, it's not going to work that great, or maybe in the wintertime, it's not going to work that great. How do you break down some seasonal behavior patterns and how you can exploit the small boat style of bassing?
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, and it's very, very, very important. So you have to understand, first off, that going back in these places, not all of them are productive for a couple of reasons. The most important reason is depth. If it doesn't have any depth in the back, way in the back, they're not going to live there because of winter. I mean, it gets so cold, if it freezes over, or if the water, another reason, if the water, drops out and it goes to mud. So whatever place that I get into, that I find, it has a substantial amount of depth in it. And it's hard to find those. I mean, they're not just, everywhere, just popping up, you see on a Google map. So that's number one. And so seasonal is a big deal because those fish ain't going to they're not going to live. They can't survive in a place that's super shallow, that's going to get dry on a drawdown, in a winter season. So that's number one. They can't live in the mud. They got to have some water. So understanding, looking back through Google history will show you that. You go, and that's just you can't do it on your phone. You can do it on a computer, like a laptop, but you can download Google, and you can go back to Google Pro and go back in history and look at previous years on a lake, and it'll show you how that spot has changed. It'll show you with the water down, whether during the winter. So you get an understanding, you get a history of what this place has looked like. And it kind of tell you a story of if there's fish in there or not. If you know what I'm saying? Like, has it withstand a decent amount of water to grow these fish? Because, whether they get trapped on a flood in there or whether they naturally grow in there or whatever, they have to be able to sustain a lengthy amount of time of life in there. So with that being said, but yeah, as far as catching them in different times of the year. The colder it is, of course, anywhere you go, it's just going to be tougher. But they will bite. I have been back in places when it's cold and caught them. I've had to slow down. But perfect scenario is spring, summer, and fall. I've caught them on a frog, flipping the Burka pit balls, throwing a slobber knocker. It's just really junk fishing. I mean, it's typically a shallower deal. It's throwing lay downs or flipping some matted grass. They're so different depending on where I'm at in the country. I've seen them super clear with grass in them. I've seen them dingy with lay downs. Some with creeks in the back of them, current, tidal. I found a place on the James River like that. Like the tide affected it. I mean, it's unlimited. There's places everywhere like that, but a lot of them don't hold the amount of bass. But yeah, it's real easy. I mean, honestly, if you can get in them, it's easy to catch them. I mean, you can use your favorite bait. I mean, it's because they don't see a lure.
Yeah. So Keith, you touched on a couple things there. One, as far as lures can be a wide variety, right? But it's also kind of sticking with the basics for whether it's this time of year or spring or summer. Mm-hmm. But maybe you could help us understand what caused you. So for the BassEdge Nation that's perhaps thinking about adopting this style of fishing or trying it out, what caused you to pick that creek? Like when you looked at Google and you said, okay, I looked at Google Earth down through the years and it definitely had the depth of water to create an ecosystem for sustainability. Mm-hmm. But why that one? Why that one?
Well, it ain't just that one. I fish a lot of them. I go in a lot of them. I hit a lot of dead ends. See, that's what people don't understand too. Like it ain't just, I've just found this one. That's the first one I went to, and I've got them. I'm on them off the bat. Right. No, man. Let me tell you something. I've done a lot of pushing and winching and going dead ends and cutting lay down trees and using a drone as well, flying up a drone, and looking and seeing real time what it looks like. So it's not, let me just pop up in here. Oh, there they are. I'm done. No, it's a trial and error deal. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of moving around, going here, going there, and a lot of snakes and a lot of spiders. So
wow.
You just gotta go in there,
dude. And those snakes down on the Red River. I mean, those are legit water moccasins, cottonmouths.
Hey, listen, this is no lie. I came here for 2 days, like a couple months ago. I had a couple of days off, whatever, and I went back in a place, and I was out on through. It was all a bunch of grass. A snake crawled, and my boat sits low. A snake, I swear to God, a snake crawled across the back deck and kept on going and went off in the water. Man, I jumped on the front deck. Those scared the heck out of me.
Yeah, that's the real deal.
Yeah. But no, I mean, it's a lot of trial and error, man. There's no magic, that's the one. You know what I'm saying? No, you have to go through the motion and fish it.
And sometimes you find them and sometimes you don't. And then, that could be where if a fella chooses this style, then that's where the adaptability comes in. Like how does the small boat style work on, big water bassin in some cases, right? Because if you can't find, if it's a tournament and you can't find a cool little backwater area to really utilize and get away from other people, your job is still to catch fish, right? So
hey, Kurt, that's probably the best thing you said all interview because that's exactly right. And people don't realize it. They don't appreciate what I've done all year. I don't go back in some place every tournament. Right. I don't like most tournaments this year. I fished what everybody else fished because there was nothing there was nothing I could get into. Some lakes just don't have that, or if they have a place like that, the fish don't live there. I've only done this out of two tournaments this year. That's it. Right. So I mean, that's what but I love fishing out of this boat. It's not just going back in places. Yeah, I mean, I try to find that, but man, I love fishing out of this boat. I feel confident. I feel good out of that boat. I don't know. I just can't explain it. It's just something that I like to do, Now I get wet sometimes. I mean, it's
Sure.
rough water. I mean, a lot of spray comes in the boat, but I mean, dude, I just have fun. It's just
Bring
fun,
it on.
man.
Yeah, this is
I run 40
Poche
mile
style.
an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, it's cheap on. It's not expensive. It's cheap on gas. You don't have to spend a lot of money. The boat doesn't cost that much. I don't have all this crazy. I don't have to buy all these electronics. I mean, it's just an easy way to get on the water and be competitive. If you're a young angler, you want to get your feet wet and start going. Literally get your feet wet.
Right.
You
right.
can get out there and start and be competitive. You know what I'm saying? You don't have to have that boat, that big boat and stuff. So, I mean, if you got somebody, boat in the backyard, whatever, knock the dust off that thing, go sign up for a tournament. Follow your dreams. That's what you want to do.
All right. We talked a little bit about lure selection and seemed pretty simple. Fish what you like, fish what you see. Not crazy, nothing crazy going on in these backwaters and creeks. Like I said, a lot of them are a little bit less pressured. So the fish can be a little bit, maybe sometimes easier to catch. Like you mentioned it yourself. It's not rocket science once you get back there, right?
Yeah.
But what I do think is interesting to kind of relay to the audience, and I'm interested myself, is how about effective boat position? You're fishing confined areas, smaller areas, not big wide. When you find these backwater places, how do you manage that? Do you fish slower than you would if you're out on the main lake per se? Or tell me about boat position, how you're effective in that process.
Yeah, I mean, you fish until you get what you think you need, and then you get out. Even if you don't have to fish all of it, you just fish whatever, and you fish closer. Especially if you got a co-ang or something, you gotta you gotta pick everything apart because you don't want to catch the fish. I fish slow, methodically. I really, really fish it good before I move down, before I move off that lay down or that spot, because he catch one, that's gone. That fish gone. Like that ain't yours no more, right? And that ain't counting towards you. So you gotta. But anyway, yeah. I mean, you really have to pick it apart. I want to be in there as least as possible. I want to get in, get out, fish the least amount of it as I can. Get 5 or whatever I feel like the weight I need, and I need to get out.
Right.
Yeah, and then go fish somewhere else, and maybe that was the difference on the river. I caught 5 each day. I leaned on them a little bit more the first day because I felt like I didn't have much. I mean, I caught a few more, nothing crazy, but and then I went out and caught one over 3 pounds in the river both days. So, I mean, that's really why I won. I mean, those big fish in the river. I mean, there wasn't no big fish in there. I didn't catch no big fish in there. So it's just, I don't know, man. It was just my tournament. That's all I can say.
When you win, it's like, we've often said, when it's your time, it's your time. And although you put in the prep, put in the work, found a great location to go bassing. It's not like, oh, well, hand Keith the trophy. He's fishing where no one else is fishing. There's a lot more to go. Right.
Yeah. And
but I feel like sometimes there's that perception out there that that's the way it goes down. But it's great to hear the real story of how it works, the style of fishing, the way you can exploit the style of fishing to be successful, and most importantly, have fun bass fishing.
Exactly. Yeah.
Hey, and Keith, before we head into the listener question, I do have one more thing I want to get your insight on, maybe help BassEdge understand when we talk about, right? Because there's different sizes of boats. When you talk about, John Cox maybe or others that do this, yours is different. What is you're definitely going to be fishing the Elite Series next year, I'm assuming. If not, but how will your boat be rigged, or the best boat setup for 2023? Can you walk us through just kind of the dimensions, the horsepower, things like that, just to really, kind of finalize that painted picture that you've talked so much about this interview?
Yeah, so I'm kind of up in the air on it as far as what I'll be able to run. And I know there's been some questions. There's going to be some rule changes next year. So I don't know if they're going to make some rule changes on size of boat, and I don't know if that'll be elite. I don't even know, or if it's just, as far as how you access a place. But yeah, I would love to fish this little boat on the Elite Series in 2023. This same size boat. I have a 90 horse Mercury on this particular boat. It's actually rated for a 115. So I possibly will get this. It's a GT series, 18 foot with a 90. I may put a 115 on there next year if I can run this boat on the Elite Series. So I'm still kind of up in the air on what's going to happen, but yeah, it's going to be pretty much a similar type of boat, rigged the same way, same stuff. I may put some electrons on the front. I don't know yet. I don't know, because we do go to like some deep water stuff that I feel like I would have to, like a St. Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, I just can't. I don't think going back in somewhere is going to be the deal there. So I may have to put a line scopus on there to catch some smallmouth, but I don't know. We'll see. But yeah, moving forward, it would be a boat similar to that size, and that I would be running.
I watched your interview there with Matt Pangrack a week or so ago, and he talked about the schedules, and there's some. You probably had maybe a little bit more time to think of it up to this point, although you don't have to commit yet. You probably maybe you haven't made a final decision. It feels like you're definitely going to fish the Elite Series next year. Do you feel like the Bass Pro Tour is going to fit into that schedule as well, or what? There was a little more conflict than I realized. I was looking at the dates, but I didn't factor in the fact that they were fishing some of the same lakes that fall into the off limits period. Right. So I've got to have some conversations with some sponsors, and my wife wants me to go to the Elite Series. Right.
So it may be a deal where I fish both, and I may not do well in one or the other, but it keeps the doors open to continue to fish them in the future. You know what I'm saying? I may have to bite a bullet. Right. But it keeps me fishing both tours for the next couple of years.
Sounds like Elite Series, though, is a little bit the priority at this point. Would you agree?
Yeah, probably so. I mean, I'm fishing the Classic. I mean, there's some huge positives on the Elite Series right now that's weighing me that way. So, I have to go with what I feel more comfortable with, and what my wife wants me to do. Sure.
Yeah, man. So, you got a family. There's family involved in all this stuff too, and a lot of people don't see that side of it as well.
Right. Exactly.
Last question before we run off into this listener question. New generations of anglers really all into this live scope deal. And offshore, obviously, there's a time and place for everything. Do you see your ability, depending on how things adjust? Like you mentioned in this interview, who knows what the rules are going to be for next year? Remember, Ott Defoe ran a jet drive. I think it wasn't a jet drive.
Tunnel haul.
Yes.
Yeah.
And And there were some rule changes after that. There could be some rule changes after this, but you're going to push the envelope to fish how you like to fish within the rules, obviously.
Yes, sir.
Teaching people and pushing this style, do you feel like there's going to be a trend moving in this direction?
I hope so, because it creates opportunity for people. It opens doors. Because it's being innovative, it's being creative, it's doing things outside the box, and that's how people get it done. And it's fun. It's freaking fun. I mean, how cool is that? What I'm doing, that's the coolest. And I'm partial to it because I'm doing it. But if you look at some of my comments on social media and the fans, they love it. Yeah. They absolutely love it. So I'm feeding them. I'm giving them what they want. You know what I'm saying? They love that style of fishing, and you got to be crazy. And people complain this and that. They just complain. But they won't tell you the truth, but they like it too. They just jealous. They just jealous because they ain't thought of it.
Right. That's great, man. We'll look forward to see how this continues to develop. It's going to be fun to watch, man. I feel like I'm a little lucky. I've kind of seen the progression and really just followed everything that you've been doing.
Yeah, it's no secret. They act like it's been like something I just started doing. Like there's no secret. Like it's amazing. I've been doing it forever.
All right.
So.
Here we go. Midway USA gift card giveaway with our listener questions segment brought to us by Nitro Performance Bass Boat. This question came through our Ask the Pros tab on BassEdge.com web link. Will Andrews asks, I like throwing topwaters. How long should I continue expecting to be successful on them in the fall as the water temps continue to drop?
Man, that's an awesome bite in that time of year. I've won a couple of small tournaments, fishing some local stuff. But yeah, I mean, I fish it all the way. I fish them all over November, December. Depending on where you are in the country, how cool it gets. But then when that water temperature really gets down, I mean, at some point it does stop. But yeah, I chunk it as long as I can, because that's a good way to get a big bite. But I would say probably in the mid 60s, low 60s. I mean, I don't know. It probably starts getting a little sketchy. They may start getting off of it. But yeah, I mean, that's a good bite. Especially a cloudy day, rainy day. You throw it all day. Absolutely.
Good stuff. And thanks for sending that question in, Andrew. It's awesome to get Keith's perspective on that topic. Andrew, one thing we do need from you, and that is simply log on to BassEdge.com, click the Claim Your Prize tab, fill out the information letting us know that you heard Keith answer your question to receive your Midway USA gift card for all things fishing and everything outdoors.
Reminder to Bass Edge listeners to send in those questions through our social media platforms or our website, just like Andrew did. Just look for that tab, Ask the Pros. Have a shot at winning another Midway USA gift card right here from us on Bass Edge Radio. Midway USA, where they have just about everything for shooting, hunting, and the outdoors.
Keith, great to have you back on the show. Really to just kind of see all your recent successes, but also just really appreciated you diving off into, like you said, getting back to kind of your roots, your rediscovery of what got you to where you are, and then continuing to push that message. Just, I think from a conservation standpoint, from many levels, it's providing a new exposure, to the youth and to people getting into the sport. Any closing thoughts as we begin to shut down here?
Oh man, I got a lot. Yeah, that's a loaded question. No, man, look, hey, I'm just thankful to get that win on the Red River. It was a tough one. I had some adversity I had to go up against, but I'm just so happy, and I'm glad my family was there to experience it with me, and it was just a special time, and I look forward to having many more of those moments. So, but yeah, it was just a great event overall.
Yeah, I want to encourage everyone to search up Keith's YouTube channel, Off the Grid. Check out some of the cool stuff that he's doing out there in his free time, not only in tournament bassing, but just like he says, having the passion for having fun with this style of fishing. You can really see it in his YouTube channel, so be sure to check this out. Obviously, Keith, best of luck capturing that BASS Opens overall AOY. I think you got 2 events left. You got Lake Hartwell, the final event in the Southern Division, and then, of course, the last event overall and in the Central Division there on Sam Rayburn. So it's all gonna go down in just a few weeks. We'll know here by the end of October how it plays out. So best of luck there to you, buddy. Stay tuned.
Yes,
we're gonna return with some final thoughts from Aaron and I right after this word from our sponsors.
You know the importance of protecting your investments, so why use anything else other than the original and toughest DIY keel protector for your boat, Megaware KeelGuard. Grinding sand, abrasive rocks, and concrete ramps are no match for our exclusive contoured edge and patented technology. Megaware KeelGuard keel protectors are made tough and made to stick. Their do-it-yourself installation takes less than an hour, providing the longest-lasting, most dependable keel protection for your boat, guaranteed for life. Developed specifically by boat builders offering the best keel protection in the industry. Also from Megaware KeelGuard, Skeg Guard, Flex Step Pro, and Pontoon Guard. So give your boat the performance edge. Put on the protection the pros pick. Megaware KeelGuard.
The PowerPole Charge Marine Power Management Station is the most advanced system of its kind available on the market. It does the work of 3 devices: a traditional battery charger, a charge on the run, and an emergency start system, all in one compact unit. The Charge lets you run your boat's accessories the way you want to run them by allowing you to monitor and control your power usage through the PowerPole app. It automatically devotes power to the batteries that need it the most for maximum efficiency. The new Charge from PowerPole. Power where you need it, power how you need it, power when you need it.
Well, Kurt, there you have it, and there you are. We officially suck because we have been told actually what worked and what didn't work. But no, in all seriousness, great to have both of those just accomplished anglers on the episode. Like I said before, friends of BassEdge for a very long time. But I kind of took away, swimming 3/4 ounce football jigs, drones, snakes, spiders, and positivity.
Yeah. All those things very important. Let's hit up that jig size real quick, right? A lot of 1/4 ounce, 3/8, sometimes a 1/2 ounce jig used. Obviously never in the shape of a football typically. Matt doing something completely different. Love the way he feels that water displacement is the key to that. Another key to that, after he was kind of describing that technique, was I really feel like that 3/4 ounce, keeping the bait lower in the water column, more in the strike zone where fish don't have to move quite as far to attack the lure. So I felt like that was one of the keys that maybe helped Matt win that super tournament, other than the fact that he's just a freaking awesome angler and putting in the time and making things happen. So that was my take on the Matt Ells football swimming jig there at Lake the Ozarks, winning the BFL super tournament. Now you've dove into all kinds of craziness, snake, spiders, and positivity.
And drones. I heard drones. Yeah.
And drones. Actually, I've heard of the drone thing before, for anglers locating fish and backwater areas, specifically in Florida, like at Lake Okeechobee. You can go through a couple 100 yards or maybe 100 yards or so of reeds where you can't see in that stuff. But if you fly a drone, you can see there's an area back there to fish that you can have accessibility to. I see this same way with Keith, man, using that technology to find some backwater areas, some potential places where bass can live that he can get his style, small boat style of fishing into. So I thought that's very innovative, something that could help anglers catch more fish in their own right. But man, just from the hard work and positivity, dude, I like the interview from the fact of Keith Poche bringing his niche to light. So many times everyone wants to have a secret. Keith's not keeping anything secret.
Indeed. I mean, and he has really found or rediscovered, as he said, his true DNA of who he is as an angler, and really neat to see. And I'm excited, really, Kurt, because of just seeing an example, remembering how when we were young people and looking up to anglers in the sport, and I always wanted to have a conversion van, right, and drive a Ranger boat because that's what was on the cover of Bassmasters. But just think of those that are out there now and kind of latching on to his style of fishing and seeing that, hey, I can afford that. I can do this. What a great potential for our sport.
Yeah, good role model, great addition to our sport from all kinds of aspects. So
no doubt. Well, we are officially out of time. I want to encourage everybody to keep up with all things BassEdge through our social media, certainly through the website where many things can be found there. But in the meantime, Kurt, 2 weeks we will be back together again for episode 386 on October 15th. In the meantime, have a wonderful couple weeks, and I look forward to hanging with you right there on October 15th. For Kurt Dove, I am Aaron Martin. So long, everybody.
The Edge is presented by Megaware KeelGuard. For more information on BassEdge or to shop at the BassEdge online store, visit BassEdge.com and be sure to join Kurt Dove and Aaron Martin right here on another episode of The Edge, brought to you in part by Nitro Boats, Midway USA, Mercury Marine, PowerPole, and